Just by the way, y'all, this is Chow here and her husband. They went to Las Vegas, so we're joining them in Las Vegas for a minute or two, or we've been doing that when we've been starting. The other persons I have to show today is this one, and it's Tracy's from way over down under. What time is it there again, Tracy? Oh, everybody's muted now, right? Anyway,
Yeah,
it's late. It's like late at night.
almost midnight, or it could be midnight there by now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably midnight.
So anyway, I think this is fun to share people's pictures. We'll be showing some for Nancy, not this time, but Nancy, we got some pretty ones from you, and thank you. So, okay, let me get out of his face so you can see him if you want to. Let me minimize, get rid of this. And so the first thing we're going to start with is the cowboys. So let me change my screen here, and I'm going to start with this cowboy right here. Can you hear me okay, Tammy?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, so we're going to start with this cowboy right here, and what we're going to do is just make him like this cowboy. So we're just doing some trace again this time, but we're going to add just the trace by color function because we didn't really use that last time, so I'm going to use that. So the first thing I'm going to do, obviously, is to come over here to the right-hand side to the thing that looks like toast to me and click on that, and that opens up the trace panel. And when that's open, rather than just saying select trace area that we usually do, I'm going to click on the eyedropper. Oh, but let me show you why. Let's just do the select trace area first. So I'm going to come over here and try to select this trace area. And it's attempting to trace it. Okay, there we go. So we have a cowboy there, but I wanted the sun as well. So if I go ahead and move the threshold up, oh, it gets too much of it. Still no good. I can't very easily just get the sun. Do you see how that is? Even though I'm moving this threshold button up and down, I can't quite get the sun and the cowboy. So I'm going to X that out, and this time I'm going to trace by color. To do that, I come here to the eyedropper and click on that, and then notice it says trace by color right here. So that's what I'm going to do. Click on that, and then come over here, and I'm going to do the cowboy or the black area first. So I'm just going to click here. And my computer, like I said, is running a little bit slowly. Maybe I have some things open I should not have, but there it is. Okay. So I can also, once again, zoom in using the little bug tool. That's what I like to call it, because to me it looks like a beetle up here. And I can come down here and zoom on him. And I can see some of these lines don't look really great. So if I wanted to, I could change the tolerance over here. Move it up a little bit and see what happens. Okay, that looks pretty good when I move it up like that. I like it better like that. So what I'll do now is I'll just hit this word trace. So let's see, let's minimize this a little bit now.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so there we go. So we got, uh-oh, look what we got, Tammy. Wait, just a second. I'm going to undo this for a minute, you guys. I'm going to hit Control Z a couple of times and go back again to where I was.
I think you said you traced that with a regular trace, the black, and then just went after the sun with a, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to, instead of tracing by color, I'm just going to do a regular trace for the cowboy because that's easy to do since he's just totally black. So I'm going to select the trace area, and I'm going to come over here and just select this area like that. And usually this stuff just pops on my computer. Okay, and so then I would just hit the word trace. And I have him all traced just like I want him to be. All right, the next thing that I'm going to do, and I'm going to minimize these things. Maybe you just keep track of the chat and that, and I'll leave mine
I will.
minimized. Okay, thanks. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to come back here And first I'll color him in, I guess. So I'm going to hit the V on my keyboard. And I hope this is all going to work. For some reason, I think that, okay, there we go. So there he is. Perfect. That's exactly what I want so far. And now I want to put the sun behind him. And this is what's about impossible to get with the regular trace. So instead, I'm going to go to Trace by Color. And I'm going to come over here to the sun or the moon, whatever it is. And you see the eyedropper that's kind of sucking up that color, so I can trace it by color. I feel like I should restart my program. And right now it's just getting this little bit of the moon or the sun. So what I'm going to do is come over here to where it says all areas and let it get all of the areas that are the same color. And so just like that, it got those. So I would just go to trace. Okay, all right, we're back. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open this again. I'm going to go to merge, and I'm just going to get the Cowboys. All right, there they are finished, and we are going to put text around the one because I think it looks really cute like that. So let's see if this is going to work better for me. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here again to the trace tool over here on the right, click on that, and say select trace area. Then I'm going to come over here to the cowboy and just trace around him. And okay, so then I would just go ahead and click on trace, and there's my trace of the cowboy. And so then what I did was I just went ahead and filled him in solid with the black. I came up here to the color swatch area, changed him to the black. And if you want to, you can change this line over here. The line will never cut unless you make the point size of it much larger. See, right now it's 0, 0. It's just to show you where the cut is. But I can change it to make it transparent if I want to. And then the next thing I went to do was I went to get the moon. So I came up here to the trace by color with the eyedropper. And then I just came here, trace by color, and came over here to get the moon. I assume maybe it's the moon. I don't know. Maybe it's the sun. What do you think? It's moon or sun?
Whichever one you want it to be.
Okay. All right. So I got part of it there, but I want to get more of it. So I can come over here where it says all areas, right over here, all areas. Click on that, and it gets all of the yellow areas. So then I can just say trace. And what I had done on my original one was I zoomed in and I used my node editing tool to get rid of some of the things. But first I'm just going to grab this and I'm going to come up here and change its color to, I'll make it orange. And then I can just bring it over here and put it behind him like that. And that looks pretty good. What I did on mine originally was I used the little bug tool up here and I zoomed way in because some of this stuff, I don't have it lined up perfectly, but some of the stuff looks like it's unnecessary, like these little spots right here. So what I did was I came with my node editing tool, you know how we use that. And when I double clicked on this, look at all the little squares of the nodes I got. So let's see, click off, click back on. And the node editing or point editing tool comes up over here. Notice if I click on the word simplify, it's slowly, because my computer's so slow, starting to get rid of some of these. And I told my husband yesterday, I think my computer is starting to fail. I told him, be careful, be on the lookout for a computer to take over for this one because I think it's having issues. But anyway, what I can do now is when I'm on those nodes, I can zoom in even closer and say, for example, I don't want this extra loop right here. I can click on this node and then just hit delete on my keyboard and delete, keep hitting delete. And I'm getting rid of some of these nodes because I didn't feel like I really needed that extra ring down there. So you can just go around and clean up this fellow because there are probably many spots that you don't need. Like, for example, what I would get rid of is, if you look in here, look at these little dots. You don't want your machine to have to cut those things out. They're not necessary. So again, I would just hit the node editing thing. And in this case, what you can do is hold down your shift key. Did you see how that changes what the node editing thing looks like when you hold down your shift key? And you can drag across a bunch of them and delete all at once. So again, if I want to get rid of this little group right here, I can just hold down my shift key and drag across those and then hit delete on my keyboard. And so there's no reason for these things to be cutting, because it's just extra wear and tear work for your machine, and they're not necessary for how your image is going to look. So let's see if we see anything else really quick. Like one of the things I did get rid of, let's move this out of the way, was this little spot right here on his hat. I really didn't think that was necessary either. So all I did for that one was came over. You could do several things. You could come over to the knife tool, which we've used before. So I'll do that first. It's way over here on the left. Come over to the knife tool. Right now it's set up, if you look up at the top, to straight. I would change it like we had done in the past to freehand. And these are just some options. And then I would just cut right across there. And then I would also come up here and cut right across here. Okay, and then I would get this tool right here, or I could hit the V on my keyboard to get the select arrow, and then come over here to this piece, select it, and then just hit delete on my keyboard, because that wasn't necessary either for my cutter to have to go down here and then up there. It's some of that stuff's just not necessary. All right, let's see. So there are probably some more, like here's one here over here, and you could work on those if you wanted to. Some of this grass is another thing I would probably get rid of. One of the things you could do on the grass, and I thought of this earlier, let me get rid of this orange part. Say like some of these things over here. Let me minimize. And if you didn't really want your machine to have to do this kind of thing, what you could do is come over here again to the knife tool, way over here. And what you could do is start maybe at the horse's foot or leg here, I'm sorry, and just draw your knife tool and make a little shape if you want to, like as if this is the landscape, like that. And once you do that, what you can do is just grab your V tool or your select arrow, this arrow right up here up at the top of the left, grab this and get rid of it. And then your machine just has this nice curvy thing to get rid of. I notice I left a little piece right here that I'd want to delete, like that. So you could do the same thing throughout all of this if you didn't want all of this grassy stuff to be cutting out. But that's just some optional things that you can do. And again, I see another white dot here I'd get rid of. But so that's enough of him. Let's get rid of him and go on to the next cowboy. I'm just, yes?
We have questions.
Sure.
Okay, Diana wants to know, why don't you use trace and detach? Why would you not use that?
Yeah, you know what? I'm really not sure about that, Diana. I don't know. I could use that, I guess. I've just been using just the plain old trace, and I'll research that for you. But I'll research that for you and see when you would want to use one versus the other. Notice right here, though, I got an issue, right? Look at this. Since I changed his landscape down here, I have an issue with my sun or my moon, whatever it is. So what I'd have to do on this case is just get my nodes again, and maybe I'd use the bug tool to go back in closely. I just pull these nodes down, and it doesn't really matter how nice and neat they are, because what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag a bunch of these down here, and you'll see. And I could use the little handles too to help. Let's pretend I've done all of that, and this is all nicely aligned as it should be. All I need.
Did you start the recording again when you come back?
Oh boy.
It just dawned on me that we left.
It's recording. Pause,
Good.
stop. Okay,
They
good. Yeah, phew.
are.
Oh, no problem. Thank you. I'm glad. All right. So the thing is about this one right now is I would go back to this tool right here, which I like, that gets it right there where I need it to be. And all you need to do then is take this sun or moon, right click on it and say send to back. And then that puts it behind the contour of the land that we have right here. So you don't need to worry about that. So.
Okay, we have one more.
Sure.
Aisha wants to know where the node tool is.
Excuse me?
Aisha wants to know where the nodes tool is.
Oh, the nodes tool is right up here. The edit points tool, you can click on that and then it comes up with this, or you can double click on anything and you get the nodes. If you double click or double click again, you get back to just the selection. So double click, you get the nodes. Sometimes you get the nodes when you don't want the nodes, right, Tammy?
Exactly.
Right. So all you have to do then is hit the V on your keyboard or double click or go up here again to the selection tool. Okay. Saw something blinking up top.
Well, it says I don't get the panel open.
You don't get the panel to open?
Sometimes it's hard to open because mine does that too. Just double click on it and go out and double click again. It'll
right. Because I just had that issue as well. All I've ever done is just double clicked over here, and like Tammy said, if it doesn't pop open right here, I would click off of it and then try it again, and usually it just pops right open. So let me know, Aisha, if you still have a problem with that, and I'll research that as well. Tammy, if you could keep notes on what I'm researching.
I will.
All right. So the next guy that we're up to is, let's see who, oh, this one right here. I thought he was cute. I'm going to get rid of these two. And we're ready to do the second horse. And we're going to not only do what we just did with the first one, but we're also going to put some text around it. And it's going to say, if you climb in the saddle, be ready for the ride. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to come over to the trace tool over here and just do a regular trace. I got to move that. Select the trace area and trace. Okay, there we go. Now this looks kind of sloppy to me, so I'm going to zoom in and check it out and see if it really does. See, I would be doing some fixing right here because that really is not nice to me. And I think if I change the threshold, it really won't help that at all. So I'll just leave it like it is there, I think. What I'm looking at is these ropes right here to make sure that they're pretty well solid. I'm just kind of glancing around, just seeing how things look. So I'm just going to say trace and go with what we have. All right, and I'm going to zoom back out a bit so I can see. I'm going to move this out of the way, maybe, and change this to the black by coming up here. Perfect. And again, you can see the red outline. That's just where the cut lines would be. You can turn those off if you want to, but it's really not necessary. But if they bug you, go up here and turn them off. Either make them the same color as the image or make them transparent. Or make transparent. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is get the moon. And I'm going to go this time, select by color, trace by color, and I'll come over here and click on that. You can see the eyedropper. I kind of imagine in my mind that it's kind of sucking up the color so it knows which one to grab. And again, we did not get the whole moon, but we can come over here to all areas because it's going to select all areas of the same color. There it is, perfect. And I'm just going to say trace. So that should be perfect then, yes. All right, so now we're just going to change that to orangey and then just bring that behind him like that. Okay. So the next thing, I'm going to group these together, object and group. And the next thing I wanted to do is, let me zoom out. Let me zoom in. Okay. The next thing I wanted to do was put this text on here. Whoops. And it says, if you climb in the saddle, be ready for the ride. So to do that, the first thing that I did, came over here to the text tool. And now I'm not sure if I did another circle. I can't remember now, but we won't this time. We'll try to do it just as it is. So with the text tool selected, I'm going to click over here and type in, if you climb in the saddle, comma, be ready for the ride. Okay. So the first thing you'll notice is it's way too big, obviously. So I'm going to select all of it, and I'm going to come up here to this little area up here at the top, and I'm going to change it to maybe something like 36 to begin with. And the next thing you'll notice is that this is on 2 different lines. So all I have to do is come over to this bar on the right, and I can stretch it, and that pops it back onto the same line. Okay, so while this is text, and you know this is editable text because there's a green box around it, and there's this little 4-headed arrow here. I'm hoping I can take it down here. Yep, I can. Okay, get off there for right now. All right. So what I'm going to do, scroll in. I'm going to make this smaller because I think it's still way too big. So I can click off of it and then click back on. And that's when you have all these boxes around here where you can change the size. I'm going to make it smaller, maybe about that big. Okay. So then I'm going to double click on it again so it turns back into editable text and back into this little 4-headed arrow. I can bring that down here and touch it to this shape. And as soon as I do, it's going to take on that shape. And sometimes it's harder, like it's doing that, both of those things right there. So what I'm going to do in this case is I could have ungrouped this, but what I'll just do instead is I'll just come over here and make another circle and make one the same size as this one, pretty much. Okay, that looks pretty good. Then I'm just going to bring this up here a little bit, and I'm going to bring this text and touch it to this circle instead, because then it's easier for me to work with since I don't have it grouped together with the horse and everything. So notice right now it's stuck on there, and I can actually make this circle so it's transparent by coming up here and click on the transparent. Okay, there it is. And then I can just, again, move this down here and see how that's going to look. Okay, that looks pretty good. What I could do now is double click on this and notice this little thing that looks like a zipper that we've messed with before. This is how you could move it inside or outside of the circle. Maybe you don't want it smack dab up above upon the circle. You can move it out a little bit. And then all the thing you need to do, I right-clicked on it and said convert to path. And then that made it so that I could remove this circle that I no longer need. And this stays in a path just like we want it to be. And then all I did with this one was I clicked on it again and I came up here and I changed it to black just like that. So there were probably some questions about that. Anybody have questions?
No, nobody said anything else except Tracy said she got a circle instead of fooling with the sun, I think, or the moon.
She got a circle instead of filling in the sun?
Yeah, she just went and got her a circle.
Oh, okay. That was smart. And just put that right behind the horse, right? That works perfectly. Sure, in this case. But the point is we're trying to trace by color.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's that one. So let me get rid of all of this stuff. And let's see, what do we have next? We got a file. I'm going to merge because I'm just going to open it to the same page. And this time we're going to do the flowers. So open up your flowers. Excuse me. And this is another reason why you may want to use trace by color sometime. I'm going to scroll out. Suppose you drew these flowers or you found these flowers and you really like them. And the one you really like is the yellow one. And you want to trace that out. So if you first come over here to the trace tool and click on that and just say select trace area. And you come over here and select it. And you're trying to get the yellow one only, but you're not having much luck because you're getting all this other stuff in there while you're trying to do that. What you can do is just do the select by color again. So you come up here, first you go to the trace tool, then you go to select by color or trace by color, and then come over here to the yellow. Now, this is where I noticed something different, Tammy, from what we were finding yesterday. If I change the tolerance of this, I don't need to do that yet. I can do all areas, and I can change its tolerance a little bit if I want to smooth it out some. And if I'm right here, and I think I made it too tolerant because it was getting some of that green down there. Okay, so I'm just going to say trace. And I want you to notice something. First of all, of course, they're separated in here because of the way the image was over here with other objects. But what I want you to notice is this box around it. And if you remember anything about nodes, you'll remember something. Look at this right here. See that little opening right there? That's why that box has been placed around there. So I'm going to show you something I discovered last night or this morning when I was playing around. I'm just hitting undo until I can get rid of all of that. And I noticed that my threshold should have been higher because you saw how jaggedy those lines were. But what I believe I've discovered is, see how this line right here is touching, the selection area is touching. If I grab this box and move that up like that, I don't think I'm going to have that red box around there anymore. I am going to move this down to make sure the yellow's not touching there. And then, got to open this trace thingy again. I'm going to trace it. And I'm hoping, because I think I discovered this morning, that that red box won't be there anymore. Voila, look at that, Tammy.
Voila. Well, hallelujah.
Tammy and I were playing with these things yesterday, and we had so much trouble with those red boxes that kept showing up all the way around it. So all you have to do, and let me show you that again. Let's say we want to get this orange guy in here. I don't know why you'd want him because part of him's missing. But let's pretend like we want to do the select by color, and we want to get trace by color. I keep calling it select. The orange.
Some of them's having trouble hearing you. Might come closer to your mic.
Okay, now can you hear me better?
Oh yeah, loud and clear.
Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say all areas. And I do need to change my tolerance a little bit because I'm not getting the other orange. Well, I guess I won't because it's a different orangey color. But anyway, here's my point. If I just go to trace, I think that's too close to this outer edge right here, and I'm going to get, there he is again. You see that? See how I got that box all the way around it? We would have to get rid of that box before we could color this in properly. Because if I try to come up here and color it in orange, it's just not going to work. So I'm just going to get rid of this one. Delete. Bring this back up in here. And I'm going to go again, trace by color, get that orange, all areas over here. I'm gonna up my tolerance a little bit because you can see that, look at this, how jaggedy it is. And that's just a mess. So if I up my tolerance some, you'll notice, see that? Look at that, perfect, right? But we don't want that red line to show up because we don't want to have an extra step of something to get rid of. So if I just come right here and pull this little square out like that, and then say trace, I am not going to have that little red box around it.
Oh.
Isn't that great, Tammy? Look at that. Yeah. And now I can just, oops, color that in. Well, what I would need to do is I would have to go to release compound path for this so that I could color it in. There we go, just like that. All right, so has anybody tried to get any of these things? Let's see if we can just do one together. Try to get this little swirly purpley guy over there. Maybe you really like it. Let me clean up my screen some. And while I'm cleaning my screen off, see if you can get the little purple guy all by himself, the swirl. Okay, if you get the little swirl guy all by himself, how about in the chat, type in got it while I try to get mine. Trace, select by color, trace by color, this purpley thing. And let's see, I need to fix my tolerance because that's really a junky line, a bad trace right there. So I want to change the tolerance a bit. All right, now I'm going to get that red line, the dreaded red line that we'd have to get rid of if I don't pull this side out a little bit like that. And now all I have to do is click on trace and move this out of the way, and there it is, beautiful. You can make it any color you want. You could duplicate it.
Tracy's got it.
Yay, Tracy! You could flip it horizontally. You could make a pretty little thing like this. Maybe you want to put the yellow flower in the middle. So again, you could just trace that by color. So I'd go over here to trace, trace by color, select the yellow, increase my threshold or tolerance, all areas, move this up because it's going to get that ugly line. Once it comes back, I would just hit trace again. Move this away. Now, if I was using this, of course, what I would do, and look at this, you guys, if you're still working, just take a pause for a minute. If I was doing this one right here, and I wanted to color this, let's say the yellow, the reason why it went way down here is because of all this extra stem. So I could change it all to yellow, and it makes all this stem change to yellow. But maybe I want to get rid of this stem part down here. I don't want all of this. I want this to fit right in the middle here somehow. So all I have to do is to go to Object, Release Compound Path. Gives me all these little pieces which I can click on and delete. All these ones down here at the very bottom. One more. But there's a problem when I want to get rid of this one. If I want to get rid of this one and I just hit delete, look at that. It got rid of the whole thing. So you know this maybe from when we did nodes. If I scroll in like this, you see why those are connected. Right there, you can see it, right? So if I double click on this, We're back to those dreaded nodes again. I'm going to scroll in, but you know what? You're going to learn to love them, I promise. They're a challenge. So I'm scrolling in. I'm going to right click on this one right here, and I'm going to say break path. And then I'm going to take that little red piece, and I'm going to move this piece down here, and there's the one broken path right here. Then I got to come over here to this one, right click on it, and break path. And again, I can move this aside, put those together over there. And look, I can even get rid of this right now if I want to. But first, I'm going to join these two together, just like that. And see how that turned into yellow? So let me scroll out so you can see what's happened now. I fixed the flower, so I can now get rid of this piece. Oh, not yet. I have to go to release compound path first. And now they're two separate pieces. And now I can release this one. Grab all this and group it. And maybe I'm going to make it much smaller. And just bring it over here, like that. And maybe I'll make it the same color of purple. I can come up here to the color swatch, get the eyedropper. Maybe I like it the same color of purple like that. And move these out however I like. And that kind of looks like a butterfly's head to me or something. So let's see. How do you get rid of those extra little red pieces? You figured it out. Yay! So did you just highlight them like this by drawing a box around them and then just hit delete on your keyboard? Chow, can you hear me now? Okay, good, Diane. Okay, so let's get rid of these guys now. Let's go. So I'm going to fit it all back here. I like to use this button up here, fit to window, so I can pretty much see everything. Delete this. And we still got our cowboy down here. Delete all the flowers. I think I'll just open a new window just in case there was some junk left in there. And Teresa can't hear very well either. Tammy, can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah, I hear you loud and clear. Maybe turn your volumes on your computer up a little bit.
Yeah, because I'm still in the spot of my mic. All right, so let's see what else we have here. We're going to go to File. I'm going to say Merge again. And let's see. We have these little birds. But let's play with the Christmas bulbs instead. I'm going to open the Christmas bulbs. And I just got these this morning, so I'm not real savvy on using them, but it's a good practice for all of us. So here they are right here. Obviously, if we tried to trace these, we can't just trace them because when I do that, watch, I'll select the trace area and I'll go over this. And it's just going to be one big old blob of all these different colors together. And that's not what I want because I want to be able to make them different colors easily. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to come up here again to Trace by Color, click on Trace by Color, and I'll start with the blue bulb right here. So when I click on the blue bulb, look what happens. It's not a very good trace, right? So you're definitely going to have to use your tolerance over here to bump it up. And I'm also, in addition to my tolerance, I'm going to say all areas. All right, so that's a pretty good trace right there. That's gotten all areas of the blue. And I could try to bump up my tolerance a little bit more if I want to get some more of that. And then just trace that. So I'm tracing the first. Oh, look, you guys, you know why that happened, right? See that? I don't just have the bulb. So let's go undo that. Undo. You know what you have to do right now? You've got to stretch this part out down here. And this string right here that's attached to the blue bulb also goes all the way up to the top. So I'm going to have to stretch this out like that. And now watch this. I was so excited to figure this part out. It made my day. All right. So now I'm just going to say trace. And this time, all I have is the blue bulb, the blue string, all the blue. So I can just click on that and come up here to the color swatch and make it blue. And of course, you notice this part right here doesn't get colored in, right? But if I want that to be colored in, you know what? Let me make this a color of the bulb that we actually have. So I'm going to get the eyedropper, and I'm going to get this bulb kind of. There we go. All right, now this part's not colored in, and I want it to be colored in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to Object and Release Compound Path. And that colored it in as the dark blue, but I don't want it dark blue. If you look closely, you can see the circle here where the dark blue is. I'm just going to click on that now since I'm able to. And I'm going to come up here and just click on another blue just for now. It's sort of a purple, but whatever. Okay, now I'll scroll back out. So there's the first part of our bulbs. Then I could come over here again, and I'll do the red one next because that's the second easiest one, I think. So I'm going to go to Trace by Color and click on the bulb. And again, it's going to get that crazy looking stuff. And we know now that this red line up here is touching at the top. So I want to stretch this up so I don't have that red line around my image. And I'm going to trace that. I'm going to up the tolerance to about like that. The tolerance is over here. And I'm not just selecting the single area to trace by color, but I want all of that color. And notice it even got all the berries over here. So that's perfect. So all we have to do now is say trace. And I'll move this out of the way. And we have all the red, which I can color now. Come up here. Maybe I should have left him. Okay, come up here, get the eyedropper, and click. Whoops, I need to select this again. Now come up here and get the eyedropper and select the red. And there we go. So there's the red done. All right, so the last part we have to do is the green. And once again, come over here to the eyedropper, which we found in the trace area. And we're going to trace by color. So we're going to get the green. And I'm going to up the tolerance. Uh-oh, look at what happened. I got some of this red over here. I don't want that, so I'm going to go down a little bit. Okay. And let's see. So I'm trying to nudge it up just a little bit to see if I can get those leaves up there because I thought I had earlier. Oh, you know what's wrong, y'all? What did I forget? Anybody know? I forgot to say all areas. Now watch. There we go. All right, so once again, let me stretch this out a little bit. Stretch this out. And the top. And it looks like I do need to change the threshold a bit to try to get those other leaves. There we go. Well, that looks pretty good. So I'll just go trace. And there are the leaves in the green. So I'll highlight that to get it. Come over here, grab the eyedropper, and come down here. And there's the green. Again, I don't want this white right here. So what I would need to do is come up here to Object, Release Compound Path. You remember that makes all the little teeny tiny squares all over everything. And one of those teeny tiny squares that we need is right here. So we're going to change that color to a lighter green or a different green there. I'd probably be more careful about what colors I was choosing. Anyway, so let's just move. Whoops. Sorry. Didn't have the selection tool. I need to hit the V on my keyboard to get the selection tool. Then I can move this over and whoops. Let me undo that. Move that. The reason why that came apart like that was because, you remember, I did the object release compound path. I'm just going to group it back together and move it over here. And I'm not exactly sure where it goes. Let's see, this must go down. I'd have to, okay, I must have released that compound path as well. So I'm going to Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, get this guy out. Grab the blue again. Grab all the blue, right click and group. And then again, I can start moving these things back in where they belong-ish. See this? I need to look at the picture. Anyway, it's something like this. This might go hanging down lower. I'm not sure. But it's something like that. You get the idea. And of course, you can mess with these leaves too. If you do the release compound path again, you could change those so they're a different color than the bulb and that kind of thing. So let's see, what do we got? 4 more minutes. Let's delete that one right quick. The last one we have to look at is, I'm going to go to File and Merge. And I thought these little birds were cute. Just a whole slew of them. And so all I did was I just chose out one of them. And the one I chose is the easier one because I didn't want to do one of these with the eyelash hanging out like that. So I chose one of the easier ones for my first one, and that's all I've really worked on so far. So I'll just choose one of these ones without the eyelashes hanging out. And I'm going to first, did I trace it first? See what happens. Trace. Oops, select trace area. Actually, selecting trace area on this one works just perfectly. So, and it may not work perfectly on all of these, but on this one, that works. So all you have, well, wait a minute. You know what? That doesn't perfectly work because I want there to be a black backing and some black, and I want these to be pink. So, well, let's try it. Let's select the trace area and trace. Move all these out of the way. Okay, there's an extra little piece down here. Notice it came from somebody else. So I want to get rid of that, but I can't yet because the first thing I'd have to do is to go to Object, Release Compound Path to be able to get rid of that piece. And then I was going to make the back black, and that's all the back. Okay, let's undo that. Okay, leave that little piece right there to begin with, and the first thing I would do is then to make the backing a light color. This is the way I always do it, right? And then after that, I would go to Object and Release Compound Path. Then I can delete this. And then, let's see. See, that's not going to work that well like this because notice what happens. If I make this part black, it's going to make that whole backing black. So instead, this would be another candidate for doing the trace by color, I'm afraid. So I'm just hitting Control Z on my keyboard to try to get back to the original guy right quick. All right, so I'm going to trace by color, and I'm going to select this area. Whoopsie. All right, trace by color and grab this area. Now, there might be a problem here, and the reason being is if I say to select all areas, I wonder if it's going to get every little bird there is. Let's try it. Yep. So There may be many ways to do this, as Nancy and I like to say, many ways to skin the cat. But what I'm going to do this time is I'm just going to cut him right out of here, I think. So I'm going to make this smaller, bring it over here, and get rid of him. Use my knife tool. That's one way to do it. So I'm just going to see if I can just cut him right out of here. I'm hoping. Let's see. I'm not sure. Yep, there we go. That's what I wanted. Just him. Get rid of these guys. All right, now I can make him larger if I want to so I can see. And again, now if I'm going to trace by color, take the wings first. And now I obviously need to fix the tolerance because that's really bad. There we go. And I'm going to select all areas. Okay, notice it's getting a bunch of junk inside of here. So I'd probably want to bring my tolerance down just a little bit so I don't get all that stuff that I have to worry about getting rid of. Looks like I might have to anyway. So I would go trace. And there we have that. So what I might do now is go to Object, Release Compound Path. And then I'm going to move this out of the way and move this one out of the way so that I can just delete all of this stuff that I don't want. Delete. Okay. So I'm left with these guys right now. And I'll click on this one, hold down my Shift key, click on this one, and change their color to a pink. All right, so I'm back to this guy. And the next thing I'm going to do, you know, I don't quite remember what I did before, so I could. So what I can do right now if I want to is I can get this little arrow key. There's so many ways to do different things. And I could just trace him regularly now since I do have his wings like that. And just select trace area and trace him. And just say trace. And then I'm left with this. So what I could do now is I could do the outer edge of this and change it to black. So it's like that. And then I'd have these little wings. Let's move him, right click on him and say send to back. And then I could bring his little wings up here like this. And now what I need to do on him is right click on him and say release compound path. And I really shouldn't have made him black yet. So let me make him a lighter color so we can see. And I can make this inner part orange. And what I'm going to do with this eyeball is I'm going to click on it, hold down my Shift key and grab the blue that's back here, the other color. And maybe you remember doing this before. Sorry. We come to the Modify panel and say Subtract. And let's see if that's going to work right. Going to bring that back to black. Yep. So what that did was it subtracted out this color. So I'll do it again, and I think this one will work as well. One of the eyeballs on one of these guys doesn't work because you're going to have to mess with the nodes. But on this one, if I click on that eyeball, hold down the Shift key, click on the greenish color behind, and then come over here to the Modify panel. And here it is. And then just say Subtract. That subtracts that right out. I'd also want to subtract out this part around his beak. So I clicked on his beak, hold down the Shift key, get the other green, and say Subtract. There we go. And I could do it around his tail feathers as well. Get that, hold down. Whoops. And this one you might have to mess with a little bit. Yeah, I didn't quite get the tail feather, the part I wanted. So I'd have to zoom in and get those more carefully. Get this part and this part, subtract. Oh, the reason why this isn't working is because I don't have black behind it. So anyway, you would change this to black like that. Okay, So let's see. I think he's pretty much done. Other than the eyes, I'd want to change these eyes. I could grab one, grab the other one, change their color to white. And he's pretty much done. If I wanted to change his color to the yellow or whatever color he was, I don't remember. I'll make him purple. Can make this part purple. And that one. And that's pretty much it. Does anybody have any questions about this? Can move these. So when you went to make him, what you'd have is this solid piece of purple, these little pieces that you'd put on top. This is especially good if you're doing it out of cardstock. Then you'd have these little pieces to go on that, and these little teeny weeny pieces. If you're making it out of vinyl, the same thing. You'd have all these little pieces that you could put together. So, anybody have any questions?
When you're doing that, do you find it better to go the color thing and make them all compact, compound paths so that they all stick together? Or is that talking about cardstock, or do you find it better to do that just for vinyl?
Sometimes I find it better just to do it with vinyl, and sometimes I don't even like to do it with vinyl. I might do it if I'm sending it to Cricut Design Space. You mean come up here to edit it, or view, where is it, edit? Oh yeah, select by color.
Yeah.
And then I can select the same colors over here, like all of this color I select, and I could group those together while they're all selected. I could select all of these. Not sure why they're not selecting. I must have made those a little bit different colors. So select those by color and group them or make them a compound path. But sometimes the reason why I don't like to do that is because, let's go to Object, make compound path, then they'll stay together just like that, right? And if I'm cutting them out on vinyl, I oftentimes want to change that anyway because I don't want to waste all this vinyl in between. But you can do it like that if it's a really intricate thing and you want to be able to just put it all on your transfer paper or your carrier sheet, whatever, and just boom, put it down in one, lump. Oh yeah, Nancy, you're right. Darn, Nancy just reminded me. Sometimes when I'm on here, so what she says is it's only selecting what's on my mat because I actually have that selected over here. If you notice here where I had select by color, the thing I do have checked is only shapes on media. And that's why it was only getting that one wing because the other wing was over here off the media. So watch, when I go to select by color, let's go to select by color. Okay, Nancy, why is it? Oh, because I grouped them. Never mind. Let's try this one. Let's try this. And so those must be different colors. Yeah, there's the other one. Anyway, the point is sometimes if you try the select by color, the reason why it doesn't seem to be working as you expect it to be is because you may have this button right here checked, only shapes on media, and that means only shapes on your mat. Okay. So that's why that wasn't working exactly the way I wanted it to. Am I going to show you how to pull that into Design Space? You want me to show you this particular one right here? Well, what is this? Oh, it's this tail. Sure, I can show that right quick. In general, it's always going to be pretty much the same way. So all I would do is I'd probably group all of him together. And then I go to File, Save As, Save to my hard drive. So this is a really nice thing about this program as opposed to Cricut Design Space. So we can save things and share things to our heart's content. So I'll just save it in my downloads folder and I'll just name it, what was he, Purple Chick. Now, notice you can save it all different ways down here. To be able to use it in Design Space, you have to save it as an SVG. If saving as an SVG is not an option when you're looking right now, that's because you do not have the business edition of the software. You have to have the business edition to be able to save things as SVGs. So I'm going to save it in my downloads as Purple Chick SVG. And then I'm going to come over here to Cricut Design Space, and I'll show you that in just one sec. New share. Okay, you should be able to see my design space coming in. Do you see it, Tammy?
Yes,
Okay, it's going to upload an image, browse. Okay. In my downloads, it's going to be looking like an S with it. It's going to be way down at the bottom for me, I believe. I hope. Yep, Purple Chick. Open. Continue. Okay, so some of this stuff that says it's not supported, that's because I had extra junk still on my work area over there. And that's why it says some of the stuff isn't supported. But the little chick's working just fine. So I would say save. And I could insert him. And again, that junk isn't going to work. But there's my little chick guy, and he worked out perfectly. So what I could do right now is just to ungroup this, since I forgot to get rid of that other stuff. And delete this, delete this. Here's my little chick. Whoops, I didn't have it all selected when I made that. Z. Okay, my crickets, there we go. Control Z. Trying to undo it, and I think Control Z works in Cricut Design Space. Yeah. So I didn't have all of him selected when I dragged him to make him bigger. So there he is.
Except he's telling
let me move my chat box out of the way. So he's over here, and what I would probably do is just attach, I think. So everything, nope, I forgot attach does that. Hold on. What you have to do if you want to attach when you're in Cricut Design Space and there's different colors, you have to choose the colors each themselves and attach them together. So that's probably a good reason, Tammy over there, to do that. But anyway, if I go to make it, you'll see, let's go to the purple mats. So they're not going to be, there's the purple body, there's a wing, there's the other wing. So you can see it's pretty easy. All you have to do is make sure you save things as SVGs.
There's those little dots.
Pardon me?
The green was just those little extra dots.
I know, yeah, I saw those. And this is the backing onto which we would build all of it. So does that help, Diane? Anybody else have any questions? Have you been able to use things in Design Space pretty easily? Good. I'm glad that helped, Diane. But you can probably see, if you are using Design Space, how much more we can do with Silhouette software that we can use for our Cricut machines. I love it. Let's see. Let me do one more thing. There's another image that yesterday I was working on, and I'll tell you what, though, it was a killer. Let's see if I can show this guy right here. See this? OMG, this little fellow right here. And I can't remember. I think we found him from pixabay.com, and he was something else, or she. So I guess that's it, because it's 11:13, and I promised we'd be done at 11 o'clock because I know lots of people have stuff to do on Saturdays. So thanks a lot for joining me. Can you still see my picture? What's behind me now?
I'd see the koala bear.
The koala bear. All right. Well, thanks again for joining me. I'll have a new video or new image back there next week. So remember, if you want yours up there, to send it to Patty Ann, I think at pattyannsplace.com, and I'll see about putting yours up there so we can visit you. It can be your workroom, your favorite place, your family, whatever, something you like. So again, thanks a lot. Thank you, child. Where do we find the recording? Oh, the recording will be up in a little while. I will put a note. Thanks, Nancy. I'll put a note to you guys, like And it will be, actually, you can always go to patreon.com/PattyAnn and look for it there. It will be a new post. There'll be the link for it in there. So that's all you have to do. Thanks, Diane and Diana and Nancy. All right. See you guys. And Tammy, thank you so much. I don't know what I'd do without you. You know how to do this Zoom forwards and backwards, clueless. So thank you. See you guys later.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.